Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Bashika, and in today's video we're going to talk about, or I'm going to give you some tips on what you need to do before even thinking about moving to another country or moving to Jamaica more specifically, because that is my experience. So if you're interested in learning some more about what you need to do in order to get the ball rolling, continue watching.
All that's history, I'll calm down eventually. Fall back eventually.
First thing, or the first point that we're going to talk about is ask yourself why. Why do you want to move there? Why that country specifically? Yeah, just why? What are your whys? Why am I even doing it? What's the purpose of it? Why am I moving out of this country just to go to that country? You know what I mean? What's your reason? And in conjunction with figuring out your reason, save. Save, because that's gonna be a game changer, especially if you're moving to a country that's more on the expensive side. You're gonna have to be doing a lot of things that require money. And in my case, yeah, Jamaica is cheaper in a sense, but also on the flip side, everything costs. There's nothing that's done for free. Everything gonna cost you some money. So that's the first. So number one, figure out why you want to do it in the first place and save. That's number one. So the next, number two, is gonna be you need to take consideration. You need to think about what you're gonna do for work. How are you gonna figure out work? Are you gonna need a work permit? Do you already have a job lined up that's gonna sponsor you a work permit? Like in my case, I still work here in the US, so obviously my job gives me the opportunity to be able to do that. But you need to figure out, how are you going to maintain yourself while you're there? How are you going to be able to feed yourself? How are you going to be able to pay rent? How are you going to be able to pay for your car? All the expenses, how are you going to be able to buy groceries? You need to think about all those things. Yes, saving goes hand in hand with this, because if you save, that helps you for, at least a little while. But in the long term, in the grand scheme of things, how are you going to be able to sustain yourself? Number three, passport. Now, if you're moving to another country, is your passport up to date? Because there's a lot of countries who they won't even take you into their country if you don't have at least 6 months on your passport. Now, in my case, I have two passports. I have the US passport and I have my Jamaican passport. I can use either one. But for the average person who might not have two passports, is your passport up to date? Or do you need to go get a passport in general? Because I've also met a lot of people who don't have passports. So do you even have a passport? Or if, for example, you're moving to, say, Canada, or you're moving to Mexico, you can get a passport card. But whichever one it is it up to date? Because also you'll need a valid passport to be able to do business or conduct business in the other country. So that's number three. Is your passport up to date? Do you even have a passport? Number four, where are you going to live? Where are you going to live? Do you have family there? Are you going to be buying a house? Are you renting? Are you going to be living in hotels for a while? Are you going to be using an Airbnb? What's the game plan? What's the game plan? Because you're leaving here to go live there. Where you finna live? Which part you gonna live? Yeah, where you gonna live? You can't move to one next country and then live out a road. That's not cute. The girlies, we don't do that. That's not cute. That's not cute, baby. So we're not doing that, okay? So you need to figure out where you're gonna live. And what that living situation is like. You're renting a room, or you're renting a house. What you doing? So you need to figure that out, how much that's going to cost you, all of that. Number five, what's the culture of the country? What's the culture like? Because even yesterday, I was working with somebody, and he was saying, hey, I want to go to Jamaica. I want to go back to Jamaica so bad. But with the climate of the culture and what I represent, I am not sure that's the place for me. What's the culture like? Is it a culture that is willingly accepting of outsiders? If you're an outsider, if you're somebody that's not from that country, are you someone who is able to like blend in and become a part of the community and those kind of things? What's the culture of the country? There's also some countries that are extremely religious, and they don't really deal with the outside mess and all those things. Make sure that you're not moving to a country that you're going to put yourself in harm's way or you're going to put yourself in danger. So please be diligent where this is concerned. We're figuring out the climate of the culture. It is very important that you do not leave your comfort zone and put yourself in a situation where you're now in trouble and you might be there by yourself, you don't have family there, those sort of things. So please be diligent, do your research before you move to a whole different country. Right. Number 6, how you getting around? How are you getting around? Are you gonna buy a car? Are you gonna be getting taxis? Are you gonna be Ubering? How are you gonna get around? And if it's a case where you say, all right, I'm going to buy a car, what's the process? What's the process like? How are you going to go about doing that? How are you going to go about acquiring assets? And also in the long term, thinking about if it's a case where you decide to move back to your original country, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? Am I selling it? Am I keeping it? Like, what are we doing? So you need to put those in your head as well. How am I getting around? First, where am I living? How am I getting around? And then kind of working at the regulations of it all. There's a lot of situations where, like your U.S. Obviously, I'm going based on the U.S. and Jamaica. Your U.S. driver's license, you're able to use it in some other countries. But not every country. Some countries you need to get an international license to be able to drive a motor vehicle in their country. I hope that made sense and I wasn't like babbling or, confusing or anything. So you need to think about getting a car or figuring out transportation. It doesn't have to be a car. Get a bicycle. There's a lot of countries that are very walkable, that's very eco-friendly and all about bicycles and stuff like that. So think about that as well. Learn the money. So number 7, learn the currency. Okay? Learn the currency. Because what you don't want to do is go to another country and flaunting. Obviously, guys, I'm going based on the idea of you're leaving the US and moving to Jamaica. But this goes for any situation, right? Learn the currency. You don't want to go to another country flaunting the USD and acting like, oh yeah, USD, da, da. Because what will happen a lot of times is that people will realize that you're not from there and take advantage. And I've seen this in Jamaica before where I've gone to like the market or whatever, and there's somebody who has USD and they're going to charge them like $5 for something that if you had changed out your money might cost you $100. $100 in Jamaica is less than $1. So you have to learn the currency and make sure that you're whatever you're doing, you're getting your bang for your buck. You're not overspending, and you're not getting played. I mean, as simple as that. You're not getting played. Just know the currency, and kind of know the value of things too. Because what I realize, a lot of things in Jamaica cost so much money when they think that you're like American or whatever. But in reality, they're like doubling and tripling the price. And I have to be like, you turn on the pattern and be like, no, I know so much it costs, me not pay so much money. Me not have it. And then they're like, just give me this amount and it's alright. But you literally just tried to play me because you thought I didn't understand what you were saying. You thought I didn't understand the money. You thought I didn't understand what was going on. So be diligent with be diligent as well with learning the currency, and change out the money. Change out the money as much as you can, or figure out bank associations, because that has been very helpful for me as well. Instead of having to like bring all this cash with me, I just go to an ATM and pull some money. It gives it to you in the currency of the country, or I think there's some ATMs that give it to you in US, but I just go to the ATM. I don't even worry about withdrawing money ahead of time anymore, because to be honest, I don't like walking around with that much cash anyway. So just be diligent with earning the money. Now, number 8 is figuring out what it is you need to be able to be financially successful in that country. A lot of countries, in order for you to maintain like your residency, you have to open a bank account, right? So now you need to think about, okay, I need to get a bank account in the country that is going to be accessible when I go back, and vice versa, right? So you need to think about that as well. And what I realized is that for Jamaica, in order for you to get a simple bank account, you literally are signing over your entire life, okay? You're literally signing over your entire life, because I went to like get the information on opening an account, and obviously I have my citizenship there. I do have my passport, my, all the things that I need to have. And I was like, what, what's the process? And she gave me an entire sheet. An entire sheet explaining to me that even though I am technically a citizen of Jamaica, I am not on record as being a resident of Jamaica. So because of that, now I have to provide an address in the US. I have to provide my social security. I have to provide my whole life, birth certificate. I have to provide my US passport, my Jamaican passport, my TRN. I gotta provide my whole life. And I think I have to provide references or something just to open a bank account, just so that you can help me save my money, just so I can put my money in your bank. I don't understand that. I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Like, why am I signing over my entire life? Why am I giving you my personal information? So much personal information just to put my money in the bank. So be very careful and be very aware of what it is that certain banks require in order for you to even open a bank account. So just think about those stuff too. Think about that stuff too. So the next point, number 9, is for people who have kids. Where's your kid gonna go? What school are they gonna go? What school district are they gonna go? And then also the age group. Are they going to kindergarten? Are they going to, well, in Jamaica it's called basic school for elementary. They got basic school, primary school, high school age. Like, where are they gonna go? And then having to do your research on the different schools, what the schools provide, and all that kind of stuff. Like, for example, my son, he's never gone to a daycare until he went to Jamaica, we moved to Jamaica. His first daycare, they didn't really require much. They just asked, what's the information, when you want him to start, and then they kind of explain, like, if he's sick, make sure his stuff is in the bag and all those things. Now, the daycare he goes now is through the Minister of Education, I guess. And you had to do a lot. You had to submit his shots, his documentation of all his immunization, birth certificate, the picture of who's picking him up or dropping him off, first name and last name, mom's birth certificate. Like, we had to provide a lot. But I also understand why, because we chose a daycare that is also a school. So once he's in daycare now, but once he gets to the age of like starting like basic school, which would be like 2.5, they automatically transfer him into that program. So we won't have to worry about figuring out, oh my gosh, which basic school he needs to go to now, and figuring all those things and figuring out a new schedule and a new cycle of getting to work and picking him up and all those things. So that's great. But make sure that you're looking into these things and make sure you do your due diligence to check and make sure that whatever program or whatever school you're putting your child into, it works for you. And then even, the costs, that also factors in with getting a bank account, and it factors in with saving, because any child that's in school, you don't want to keep them out of school for too long. So thinking about that would be helpful. And also think about the time of year that you're moving or you want to move. Think about those things as well, because moving in the summer might be ideal because your kids are already out of school, gives them time to, get acclimated with the system and the weather and all those things before they start school. So consider that as well. Number 10, once you've already figured out all the things that you need to do, book your flight, honey. Book your flight, okay? Book that flight, pack your bags, and be out. And I mean, to be honest, number 10 and number 11 should switch in reality, because number 11 is doing your shipments. So if it's an example, if for example you're wanting to like ship furniture, or maybe you want to ship like your clothes and then you would do that before you book your flight. Well, not necessarily, because you can still book your flight and then still ship stuff. You know what I mean? But definitely consider that as well, shipping things. Because what I realized, getting there and having to do all these like business transactions of buying a car and figuring out school and all this run around, I wish I had sent a barrel before we had moved. Because then we still have to think about, okay, Ro needs to eat, we need to go to the supermarket, we need to do this, we need to do... And then you're still up and down, round and round, up and down, round and round. And then you have all this food in the house, but then you're always on the road, so you end up spending money buying stuff anyway. So that's the only thing I wish I had did. That thing, I wish I had done my shipment and then moved, because it would have made a world of difference. But my advice, if you want to move out the country, do it. It has been the best decision so far, or one of the best decisions so far. So I would say just go ahead, do it. Pack your bags. Go ahead, live your life. You only have one. And I don't want people to think, oh, I have a kid. Do not let that stop you. Kids are very impressionable. Kids are very adaptable. Kids are also a product of their environment. So don't let that stop you. And to be honest, since my son has been living in Jamaica, I think not saying he doesn't have fun. Obviously, he enjoys being here and having fun with his cousin and his aunt and his grandma and everything. But I honestly feel like he's just enjoying living in the warm climate. He goes to the beach almost every weekend, just playing outside. So if you're considering it, just do it. And if you're a yardie like me and you want to go back to Jamaica, even if I want a little bit of time, just do it. Just pack your bag and go. If your job give you the opportunity to do it, or you have like a work from home or anything like that, just do it, because you know the Jamaica nice. As long as you have somewhere to stay and you have your money and your thing, just do it. Because guess what? Like I said, you only have one life to live. You only have one life. God only blessed you with one life. One life alone. And at the end of the day, you can save and do all these things and work, and in the US, but at the end of the day, your quality of life is what is important. Because when you think about it, if something happens and you can't work anymore, that job's gonna replace you. So, like I said, you only have one life. Make sure that you're living it. And if you are planning to move, do it, enjoy it, big up yourself, and just do what you gotta do, you know? But shout out to y'all. If y'all are moving, God bless you on the journey. Keep your head up, and even when things get tough, just keep pushing, because there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So, with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, share, make sure you subscribe. It's your girl Rashika, aka Ro, or Mrs. Kelly, you already know. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.